The night was cold and silent. The forest outside the cave moved with shadows, and the wind carried strange whispers through the trees. The man sat close to the small fire inside his shelter, his only light in the darkness. His eyes stayed sharp, watching the flames dance, but his ears listened to every sound beyond the cave walls. He was used to silence, used to being alone. But tonight the silence felt heavy, like the air itself was waiting for something. He had built this shelter with his own hands, stone and wood dragged from the forest. It was not much, but it was safe. And in a world like this, safety was rare. The fire cracked softly, and he wrapped his worn jacket tighter around his body. Food was running low, but hunger was better than making noise outside. Noise brought attention, and attention brought danger. Then it happened. A sound, faint but sharp. Not the whisper of wind, not the cry of an animal. It was different, like something dragging across stone. His heart stopped for a moment, his hand tightening around the metal pipe he kept beside him. He held his breath, listening. There it was again, scratching, slow, steady, and closer. Man stood, firelight casting his shadow long against the cave walls. His muscles tensed and his breath grew shallow. For weeks no one had found him. No animal had dared come so close. So what was this? Enemy? Beast? Something worse? The scratching grew louder, and then footsteps followed, not heavy, not animal-like. They were light, almost careful, but still wrong for the deep forest night. The man raised the pipe, ready to strike, ready to defend his small world. The fire hissed as a draft swept into the cave, carrying the scent of damp earth and something unfamiliar. It was not blood, not smoke, but strange and sweet. The smell of something alive but not human. Suddenly, the shadows at the cave's mouth shifted. A figure stumbled forward, half falling inside. The man tightened his grip, raising the pipe higher, but then he froze. Because what stood before him was not what he expected. It was a girl, at least. She looked like a girl, young, thin, trembling. Her hair spilled down in dark waves, wild and tangled like she had been running for days. Her clothes were torn. Strange fabric the man had never seen before, glowing faintly under the firelight. Her eyes caught the light like mirrors, shining with alien color, not human, not safe. And yet she was beautiful in a way that stopped his breath. She looked at him, her chest rising and falling fast. For a moment, neither moved. The cave seemed to hold its breath too, as if waiting for one of them to strike. But she did not attack. Instead, she stepped closer, slow, weak, like her legs might give out at any second. The man's hand trembled on the pipe, unsure if he should push her back into the night or let her inside. Then, without warning, she collapsed, not from a strike, not from fear, but as if her body could no longer carry her weight. She fell near the fire, curling up against the stones like an animal searching for warmth. Her eyes half closed, but they never left his face. It was not hatred in her gaze, not even anger. It was something else, something like desperation, like she had run from something worse than him. Something outside, waiting in the trees. The man did not lower the pipe at first. He stood there, breathing hard, watching her small frame shiver. Her skin was marked with strange patterns, glowing faint lines like scars, but too perfect to be natural. She was alien, no doubt, and that meant danger. But she was also broken, weak, and she had chosen his shelter of all places. Why? The fire flickered, throwing light across her face. She closed her eyes, breathing slower now, as if the fight in her had drained away, and then to his shock, she shifted. She curled closer, against his side of the cave, against the very spot where he had been sitting, as if this place belonged to her, as if she had always known it was hers. The man stood frozen, pipe still raised, but something inside him cracked with confusion. Why would an intruder act like this? Why would she press herself into the corner like a lost child seeking safety? He wanted to push her away, but something held him back. Her fragile form looked too human, too tired, too much like she had already fought her battles before she arrived here. Outside, the forest whispered again. Branches snapped, and the night seemed alive with movement. The man glanced at the cave mouth, unease twisting in his chest. Maybe she had not come here by chance. Maybe she had been running from something that was still out there. And now, because she was inside, that danger might come for him too, but still, she did not move against him. Still, she curled into the warmth of the fire as if she had found her place. The man lowered the pipe slowly. Though his heart kept racing, he had no answers, only questions. And the night outside did not wait for answers. The intruder had come, and she had claimed his shelter as her own. And somehow, he knew this was only the beginning. The morning light entered the cave slowly. Golden beams broke through the forest trees outside and spilled across the stone floor. The man opened his eyes to the sound of soft breathing. For a moment he forgot what had happened the night before. Then his gaze shifted and the memory struck him again. She was still there, the alien girl, curled against the stone, not far from where he slept. Her dark hair lay scattered across her face, wild like the forest itself. The fire had gone cold. Yet she remained close to its ashes, as if it still gave warmth. Her chest rose and fell gently, her body calm now. It was hard to believe this was the same figure who had broken into his shelter only hours ago. The man sat up, his back stiff from the hard ground. His hand instinctively reached for the pipe he had left nearby. The metal was cold in his grip, but the weight gave him courage. He studied her carefully, trying to understand. Why had she come here? Why had she acted as if the shelter was her own? Slowly, her eyes opened. They glowed faintly in the light, alien and strange, yet filled with something familiar, not anger, not cruelty, but a quiet fear. She met his gaze without speaking. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Instead, she shifted closer, curling up against him again, like a child who had found safety. The man stiffened, his grip tightening on the pipe. It made no sense. Intruders were supposed to fight, or steal, or kill, not press themselves into his corner. Of the cave like it was their home, not look at him as if he was the only shield against the outside. She closed her eyes again, her body relaxing against the cold stone. It was as if she had decided he was not an enemy, as if she had chosen him. The man did not move, but his mind raced. He thought of pushing her away, forcing her back into the forest, but something in her silence stopped him. Her breathing was slow, tired, but steady. It was not the sound of a fighter ready to strike. It was the sound of someone who had run too far, too long. Hours passed in tense silence. The man gathered what little food he had left: dried roots, a strip of tough meat, a small flask of water. He ate in silence, keeping one eye on her. Her gaze followed his movements, sharp yet almost curious. She pointed at the flask of water, her fingers trembling. The man hesitated, then slowly held it out. She took it carefully, lifting it to her lips, drinking in quick gulps. Then she lowered it, bowing her head slightly, as if in thanks. The small gesture unsettled him more than anger would have. It was not the act of an enemy, it was the act of someone who trusted him. Or at least someone who needed him. As the day moved forward, she began to explore the cave. Her movements were slow, cautious but not aggressive. She touched the stone walls, traced her fingers across the marks where he had sharpened tools. When she reached for his fire pit, he tensed, but instead of destroying it, she arranged the ashes neatly, as if she understood its purpose. Then she returned to his side, sitting close enough that he could feel the warmth of her skin. The man's unease grew with every passing moment. She behaved not like an invader, but like someone who belonged. Here, every action, every glance carried a strange sense of ownership. It was as if she had decided the shelter was hers as much as his, and the strangest part of all, he let her. That night, as the fire burned low, the man lay awake, his mind turned over every detail, every gesture. Who was she? Why had she come here? Why did she act as if he was her protector? Then he noticed something new, the faint glow of markings along her arms and neck. They pulsed softly in the dark. like veins filled with light instead of blood. The pattern shifted when she breathed, almost alive. He stared in silence, unable to look away. It was not natural, it was alien, and yet strangely beautiful. But the glow also reminded him of danger. If she carried such marks, others might be able to track her. Perhaps the hunters outside were following that same light. The girl stirred in her sleep, pressing closer against his side of the cave wall. Her body curled like she had always belonged there. The man tightened his grip on the pipe, but did not move her, for reasons he could not explain. He allowed her to stay, but in his chest grew a heavy unease. Because if she belonged here now, if she had made this shelter her spot, then it meant the outside world was no longer only his enemy. It was hers too, and if they were after her, they would soon be after him as well. The fire burned low. The forest whispered, and the man lay awake, listening to the quiet breathing of the alien girl who had taken his shelter for her own. He did not trust her, but he could not drive her away either, and deep inside, he feared the truth.